my name's Nicole Belanda. I work for Rockwell Automation as the Customer Advocacy Program Manager, and we're here to talk about results achieved. With me today is David from Kendrick Plastics to share some results that Kendrick has achieved. Hi, David.
Hi.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is David Chubb. I'm the IT manager for Kendrick Plastics, and I'm over everything for Kendrick Plastics from a technology strategy all the way down to implementation.
Nice. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what Kendrick Plastics does?
Sure. So Kendrick Plastics is an automotive interior supplier to some of the biggest tier ones and OEM customers. So we make everything from instrument panels to cockpit, really everything you can see from like a driver. We probably have our fingerprint on it somewhere.
Nice, that's interesting. Okay. And then what problem were you facing when you first came to Plex?
Sure. So our number one problem that we had when we were first coming to Plex was really centered around data accessibility. And that came in a couple different ways. One of those was just the traditional data silos, and then how stale that data was for us. So before transitioning to Plex, some of our data was as old as 24 hours. Now imagine, right? It's raining outside and you have to wait 24 hours for someone to tell you it's raining, right? You're gonna walk outside with shorts, no umbrella. If you knew it was raining, right? The obvious thing to do is to get an umbrella. Maybe you change your attire. And really that same thing happened to us at Kendrick Plastics. Just for having visibility to data and giving people the opportunity to write our own story and our own narrative, right? If you had the ability to say, let's respond to this with a cross-functional team or not, you're always gonna choose cross-functional team. You're always gonna make the right decisions to control your controllable costs. And controllable costs are things you know about.
So you're not operating blind anymore. You've
No.
got pretty much near real-time visibility in what's going on with the operations, and that's helped reduce scrap, you said. Have you seen any other benefits from this?
Sure, we've also increased our production attainment from, I believe it was mid 80% to 90% production attainment. Again, that is just around like real-time visibility. It's also, we've also begun work on freeing up a lot of our trapped data inside of our production cells. And that trapped data is process data. It could be like micro stoppages or really just things that are going on that we had no visibility to. And again, it's kind of painting that picture of here is situations that are occurring. And it's giving us opportunity to include that in our, again, our cross-functional problem solving teams. And then even from like a preventable maintenance, we're able to respond and correct that before it becomes that big of an issue.
That's nice to be able to be a little bit more proactive about things versus reactive. And what you're mentioning about data silos, about not having access to certain types of data, I think is something that most companies can relate to. How did you decide to go with Plex to solve this problem? What helped you make that choice?
Sure, so Plex is really well known in the kind of mid-market company automotive. Like it was born and bred from the shop floor as an automotive quality system. So the choice is pretty obvious for us to pick a system that was really fast to implement, which it took us 6 months to implement. And it allowed us to implement and really achieve true ROI for that implementation without disrupting any of our customers. And that kind of capability would just almost comes with Plex, kind of ingrained into the product. Isn't heard of when you get into some of the bigger software systems that require you to contract specific development. Plex has the ability to be configured to your exact use case.
That's great. So it's a little more plug and play, it sounds
Yeah.
like, and that worked really well for Kendrick. Anything else that you want to tell us about your implementation or results that you've seen so far? Any advice for those who might be watching?
Sure. I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give is when you're implementing any type of project on the floor to really free up data, is to focus around the problem. and then approach it from the simplest path, working towards complexity. So a lot of companies, they really get hung up on a lot of buzzwords. To name a few: machine learning, AI, Industry 4.0.
Keep going, keep going. Just kidding. But you could keep going.
I mean,
yeah.
I could keep going on. And what that if you focus on those things, you kind of get paralysis. And about 80% of the problems that you actually need to solve in your day-to-day operations can just be solved with process visibility and alerting when things go bad. And then the remaining 20%, sure, there's a case for AI, machine learning, but what exists today in the market, 80% of that just doesn't require it. And then it doesn't require you to set up all of those complex data structures, right? If you only need to track 5 things about your product that really affect uptime, quality, scrap, then track those 5 things. Find value in those 5 things, and then as you find opportunities for more data, add it. But don't spend too much time in the beginning of the project focusing on capturing everything. If you spend all that time capturing everything, at the end of the day, you're gonna have a lot of data that is expensive to hold. Your team's not gonna see real results for their hard work, and you're gonna get tired before you make it to the finish line.
You bring up, so I think this is fabulous advice. And Plex is set up to be scalable, so you can start small, and then once you've got that locked in, build and build and build, which we hope that Kendrick Plastics does over time. We are so lucky to have a customer like Kendrick Plastics who has a solid approach to digital transformation like this. So thank you so much for joining me for this quick look into the success that you've achieved and your results achieved to date. Thank you.
That was my pleasure. Thank you.